G'day everyone, Kate Fantanell or Lady Liberty Australia here. And I want to start my message today by apologising to the people of Western Australia and everyone who has supported me in the legal action campaign against Western Australia's gun laws. I am sorry that has taken as long as it has. I am sorry that the communication has not been as timely as people have expected. And I'm sorry that we are still in a position where we have the boot of the state on our necks in relation to our firearm owning rights. Thank you to everyone who has supported me during this very stressful time. And again, I'm sorry that I'm not in my home state of Western Australia. I would be there if I could, but I need to be able to live and work. And that was not an option for me in Australia because of my fight for gun rights. Now, today, I am going to provide a much anticipated announcement in relation to where we're at with the legal action challenge. So, for those of you who have been following with this for a while, or those of you who are just joining in now, I will recap and tell you the story of exactly what I have done, what my legal team has done, and what we have been able to achieve and plan for because of the support of the people. Now, back in January, I had a conversation with quite a few lawyers in Western Australia about challenging Western Australia's Firearms Act in the courts. Now, these conversations were at the same time that everyone was gearing up for the state election, and I was in conversations with political parties, politicians, lobby groups about getting involved in the political race while I was talking to the legal side of town. And I made that decision back in January to not put my hat in the ring and run against the police minister, who was Paul Papalia at the time, and to take charge of the legal action challenge. Now, I did this after approaching various shooting organisations, not just in WA, but around the country, to ask them if this is something that they would do for the people. They were all focused on the political solution, and that's the road that they continue to go down, despite me begging people to not think that the Labor Party was going to be turfed out after the majority that they got after the election in 2021. So I spoke to the legal side of town, and I was given the option of being the client for them with the purpose of getting the official legal advice about WA's gun laws, the regulations, and the legislation that came into effect on the 31st of March. At this point in time, I still have not received the official written letter of opinion from my senior counsel. Now, this has come after me pushing and pushing and pushing for them to meet deadlines that I have set because of my situation. I wanted all of this wrapped up before I left Australia to move to Texas at the end of March, early April. Those deadlines have been repeatedly missed. Now, I'm not having a go at anybody. We are working with people, things come up in life, and this is a card that I have been dealt. Now, during this time, there has been a coordinated attack about me and my life choices and what I am doing while still being the client for this case. Now, I spoke to my lawyer yesterday morning, Monday morning, Australian time. We had a very long conversation about what we can do because we are at the mercy of our senior counsel, who has been given a very substantive piece of work. And I must reiterate, this is not a very easy thing to analyze from the legal side of town. This is an extensive piece of work where they are looking at multiple aspects of the laws. Now, that workload has expanded because of all the emails that people have sent me that I have passed on to them to look at as part of the advice, because there is so much that we can challenge with these laws. I've gone through them in the past. Some of the things I've said in the past include the storage requirements, the gun limits as well. I know we are all nervous and anxious, and people are currently participating in the confiscation compensation program that my lawyers reopened for us. And I know that that's not good enough. So that we are still looking at gun limits. We are also looking at the Firearm Authority health assessment and what we will do if people get denied a license for some of their private medical situations. We are looking at the views, attitudes, and opinions test. There is a lot that my legal team is analyzing with their legal hat on to see where we can challenge these laws. Now, at the start of this, as my GoFundMe says, I set out to get the official letter of opinion from a King's Council to look at ways that we can challenge the laws in the courts. And my advice to them and my direction to them from the start was I do not want one more firearm handed into the state so they can blow them up in the desert and disarm us without paying proper compensation and without justifying why they brought in these laws in the first place. This is my position on this has been I want to see all of these gun laws erased, and I want the people who actually use firearms in the community to have a say about how we are governed. That is the role of government, to listen to the people. They work for us, so they write laws that are workable for everyone. That is not what has happened in Western Australia because of the political context of this situation as well. So, this, let me remind everybody, I want to make this very clear. This is not about Kate Fantanell, Lady Liberty is fighting gun laws from Texas. This is about a person who is from your community, who has worked in your community for SSAA National back when they had some balls and principles. This is someone who took up the the only person who would do this, despite me putting it on a platter and saying, here you go, shooting organizations. I've got you a King's Council who is prepared to write this letter of opinion. That was the first major hurdle. Who would want to touch gun laws in Australia, in Western Australia, given the political context and the media and how they've portrayed us? And I will talk about the media at the end of this because I'm very fired up. So I was the only one who put my name down and signed a contract with the lawyers, making myself liable if I couldn't pay any of the bills to get this advice so we, the people, would know how we can challenge this because the political solution has failed us. Getting up in Parliament when you don't have the numbers and it's all about votes and making great big speeches does not change the laws. The only way you can change the laws at this point in time is through taking legal action. Now, I hear you. I hear people saying, and some of you have been quite nasty to me, to be honest. And the conversations that I've had with those who support me the past few weeks would know the mental stress that I have been under while still pursuing this case with my legal team. I have been up at all hours of the night here in Texas to talk to them. I have been talking to other lawyers in Western Australia to find out what the bloody hell is going on. Is it normal to take this long and miss 4 deadlines when working on a letter of opinion? From my conversations, it turns out that the wheels of justice does turn slowly. And this has been quite a baptism of fire with me because I have dealt with lawyers in the past for other issues, including family violence restraining orders and also going through a divorce. And anyone who has gone through anything to do with lawyers will understand they have their own timelines and their own way of doing things. So, even though I was given specific deadlines on when I would get this advice, which I publicized to you because I wanted to share where we were at and when we could expect something, I still haven't gotten the written letter of opinion. Now, I did get the verbal letter of opinion back on the 28th of March, and that verbal letter of opinion also came with the number one strategy, the pressing thing we had to do, which was at least get compensation for the push button release firearms and the lever action firearms above 5 rounds. So that came after my KC wrote a letter to the police commissioner and the police minister, and that was reopened so people could get something for their private property. I know it's not enough, and that is something that my lawyers are still looking at. Can the state confiscate your private property without offering fair and reasonable compensation? That's still something I am waiting for the official response on. Now, as part of my meeting with my lawyer yesterday morning, we have to stick with the team that we have. I have made that decision. I still believe that my KC is the best man for the job. He has already had wins for us. I've empathized with the situation that he is in. As I said, this is a high profile, politically charged, sensitive case. We are talking about challenging gun laws in Australia. Of course, it was going to be toxic. Of course, there were going to be people with the knives out as soon as they got any chance. So I didn't realize it would be as bad as it was. But that's the cards that I've been dealt because I stood up when no one else did and took on this case as the client, putting myself liable if I couldn't come up with the funds. That's where I'm at now. So, in my conversation with my legal team yesterday, we are pushing as hard as we can to get this written letter of opinion because that is what you have paid for. It very clearly says on my GoFundMe that that is what we need. It is still the missing piece of information. I still need to get this advice and I have already paid for it. They have already been paid for something and they haven't delivered. I've had very, very, very strict conversations with my legal team. So we are working with the King's Council, supporting him as much as he can. I'm trying to lay off on sending him other work, but that's where we're at. Now, the other conversation I had with my lawyers yesterday was in relation to because I have raised in excess of the price for the letter of opinion, what can I do with the money to achieve the best results for the people? Now, there was some things floating around, potentially fund a class action. The money wouldn't cover that. Maybe challenging cases one on one. Because of the volume of emails that I have received, and I have to at this point apologize because I know I have received so much more. I am not in a position now when I have a full time job to be able to do both. I have been dealing with the lawyers and the stuff in the media. It has gotten to the point where it is too much for one person. It always was too much, to be honest, for one person to handle. I have said to my lawyers, I need a specific person in your office who I can send my people to, who are potential clients, potential litigants, who can look after any gun law challenges that come our way that I already have received from your emails. I would like to use some of the money that I have fundraised to dedicate a person, a lawyer, to go down the path of challenging the gun laws in the courts. And that is what I always set out to do. Everything that I have done has been with the aim of getting rid of these authoritarian gun laws that have treated peaceful people like we are the enemy and that we are a threat to society. It is not right. I need somebody who's on our side who can go through the emails and reply as a lawyer. I've also been advised to be careful and perhaps not reply because I cannot give legal advice. And there are people out there who are looking to bring me down any opportunity they can get. So I've had to be very careful in how I reply to people. So I've had that conversation with my lawyer yesterday. So the plan is get this bloody letter of opinion. And I have been promised that. There has been genuine apologies and explanations, I must say. I know I might seem a bit angry about it, but I'm angry because of the situation. It's not only put me in personally and professionally, let alone risking my work visa here, but also because of the situation that you, the people, are in, because we still don't know what the advice is. So we are pushing to get that advice. And as soon as I have it, I don't care what day of the night it is over here, I have said to my lawyers, you call me, we will go through the advice and I will broadcast that to the people because that is what you have paid for. That is what I have to be held to. And that is what I'm going to do. So that's what we're doing. And the other conversation, of course, is about how to use the rest of the funds. And from the conversations, instead of throwing money at little cases here and there, employ a lawyer who works for me on behalf of the people to look at all the emails sent me, the litigants that are sitting there. I said this to my lawyer. There are clients here who have gotten the evidence, like I told you to, who have fair things that we can challenge and who are willing to go through the legal profession to do this. We just need that missing piece, which is the advice. And we need someone in WA who is a lawyer who can handle this level of work. That is where we're at now. So that was the conversation I had with my lawyer yesterday morning. Now, I do want to go into something else that has happened in the last 24 hours. There has always been something. Ever since I left, this is just consuming me. I have a new job. I am trying to build my life after living on the road homeless for more than a year. I'm trying to do everything I can, and I apologize that I haven't been able to keep on top of it as much as I could have. I am only human. So, yesterday, when I was on the phone to my lawyer, he mentioned that he had received an email from Politics Reloaded, and the editor there is a man by the name of Neil Jenkins. Now, they have been the ones who are responsible for starting all the attacks on me if people want to cast their minds back. So, he received this email yesterday. I'll just pull it up on the screen for you to read. The first thing that I would like to point out about this email sent on Saturday is that there was no subject. The subject line has been left blank. Now, anyone with a basic understanding of IT, even if you are a boomer, would understand that if you don't put a subject in your email, it's more than likely going to go to your spam folder. So I just wanted to point that out because I'm all about transparency. And I think you could put in there Kate Fantanel maybe might be the subject because apparently I'm such a hot topic, despite the fact that this is an organization that last I heard was funded by another shooting organization. So that if you want to have a look at who's funding these people, I highly recommend that because that's important to know. He sent this email asking if my law firm has ever, if they still or have they ever represented me? When did we last communicate? How much has she paid? Now, you would think you would think that an organization that is meant to represent gun owners in Australia, when people are being disarmed, and there's so much going on Facebook about how angry people are and some of the things that WAPOL have been doing, you would think that the focus would be on how can we help the people and stop the state from taking their guns. I don't know, is represent shooters, save our sport, those kinds of things. But unfortunately, it's come to the point where everything has to be about me and what I'm doing. So, in the interest of transparency, here is the response that my lawyers sent back to Mr. Jenkins, who have been acting for me since January when I had the conversation with them and signed the contract to put myself liable for this case. And I we proactive, comprehensive instructions. I have been on the phone to my lawyers more than I have spoken to my own family back home in Australia. This is the point that I'm at now. I'm not complaining because we always have a good chat, but this is where I'm at. I am in constant communications at all hours of the night, talking to my legal team, pressuring them for this bloody advice that I have paid for. I have paid every bill that they have sent me. And this is the other problem and position that I'm in. I just want to be crystal clear. They cannot keep up and do the work in time despite the money available to them. I have paid for the letter of opinion, and there was a conversation about paying more into the trust. And I said to them, I will pay you more as soon as you've delivered what I paid for in the first place. Because I don't believe that if you haven't even got what you paid for in the first place, I'm not going to be wasting people's money unless you show me results. I paid for that urgent letter that was sent to the police commissioner and CC'd the police minister. I paid for that separately from the letter of opinion. The letter of opinion, that money was transferred as soon as I had it on the Monday when I went in to meet with them after the election. That is how long it has taken them, despite being paid for in advance for their work, in order to deliver. Now, I also said, and I have been very public about this in relation to the donations that I've received because it far exceeded the price of the letter of opinion. The letter of opinion has been expanded, so there's been conversations about increasing the price there too. The phone calls, the emails, everything I communicate with the lawyers, the retainer, this is all adding up. So, the conversation I had with my lawyers yesterday when we were talking about how do we spend the rest of the money, that's when we had a plan developed about hiring someone specifically who is a lawyer who can fight in the courts against firearm laws. And to me, that ticks my boxes in terms of what I set out to achieve when I started this. Fight Western Australia's gun laws in the courts. To do that, the first thing you need is a letter of opinion from a KC, and then you have the litigants ready to go with evidence, and then you go to court, which costs money. So I'm in a position now that I can fund that, and that is what I have said I will be doing with the legal action money. I just wanted to make that clear. Now, the final point that I want to make is in relation to the Wank Australian newspaper. Now, I know this will trigger a lot of people putting this up on the screen. I still get triggered when I see this. I remember when this came out. This is the catalyst for my Senate campaign in 2022. And I said during my Senate campaign, when by the way, there were attacks on me in the media by my mate, the journalist who is still doing pieces about me, I publicly said that I would never talk to this publication after what they did to my community. This is not responsible journalism. This is a hit job. You worked with the state to set up gun owners to be doxxed and put our public safety and everyone's public safety at risk, and you call yourself a news publication. You are a propaganda arm of the state Labor Party, and you are complicit with them in these kinds of attacks. So do not email me and say, can we have a comment on you moving to Texas? I gave you a comment last time you ran a hit piece on me and you didn't even use it. You went ahead and wrote your own narrative anyway. That was your one chance. You didn't take any of my statement and use any of it. You put out what you wanted to say anyway. And I do have questions about the timing of the email from Mr. Jenkins and the hit piece that's come out today from Ben Harvey. I would love to know if there's some kind of relationship going on there, because to me, it seems very coincidental, the timing on the attacks. So, to the Wank Australian newspaper who have put me on the front page today, this story is not about me moving to Texas and having a job here when I couldn't get one in Australia and I was homeless living on the road, because that is what our country for my generation has turned into. I had no hope of having a life and building a future with my new husband in my own country that my grandfather migrated from Italy for after the fascists destroyed his country. I feel like I am going through a similar thing. And yes, it's not been as explicit as what happened in Italy, but fascism is in Australia, and that's what's happening in WA. How can I stay there when that's what my grandfather fled? I want a life as well. I could not keep living on the road. I would not have lasted another year doing this legal action challenge, fighting for gun rights, being displayed how I've been displayed. I would not be alive today if I had stayed in Australia. And I know that's probably sounds very dramatic, but that is the reality of the situation I was in personally and professionally because of my stance and standing up for my community and shooters back in 22 when I ran in the Senate. So I just want people to understand, and no, you don't have to have sympathy for me. And I know people are very stressed and we're all waiting. We are all waiting for the lawyers to tell us what we can do. I am waiting too. I have the money ready to go. They've been paid for the work that they are still yet to deliver. This is the position that I'm in. I do not wish this on anybody. But all I can say is that I have done this because I do not want one more firearm taken by the state and blown up in the desert. This is how they have treated us. So if they want to portray me like they have, if they want to write lies about me, if there are people sitting in ivory towers over east who could be doing much more for shooters but seem to have an infatuation about bringing me down because I am against the establishment, I am not part of the boys club, and I am proud to not be a part of the boys club, because what have you achieved for shooters? What have you actually done for shooters? I cannot wait. I cannot wait till I get this letter of opinion and we have all our ducks in a row and we can go to court. And you know what? I have already said to my legal team, as soon as you need me back in Perth for anything, I will be there. I'm committed to this. I will see this through. Even though I'm not there now, they know I'm only a call away. I will always only be a call away from my people back home. And I will come back if anybody needs me. So thank you for listening to this update. Sorry I got a bit emotional, but it's been a lot. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, I am still committed to this. It is a lot. I probably, to be honest, bit off more than I could chew. I did not realize that it would be this bad and that my life choices and having my own life and finally a roof over my head would be such a controversy. The real story is we are ready to go with legal actions, because there will be multiple actions. We have the money there ready to go as well. We are developing a plan. As soon as we get this bloody advice, we will know what we can do next. So, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support. I apologize again for how long it has taken. I did not realize that it would be this long, but the wheels of justice do turn slowly, and we are up against the system. We are up against the media. We are up against our own organizations as well. But I promise you, I will keep fighting. And as soon as I have that advice in my hand, I will be delivering it to you, the people. So thank you. I'm Kate Fentanyl, Lady Liberty Australia, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. I will be back to speak to you as soon as I can. Thank you.